Hello, everyone.
We are live, right?
We are live. We have
Cool.
people joining. Hello from London, from Zurich. So everybody in the chat, just hello, everyone. Just let us know where you're attending from. It's great to see more people joining by the minute. Before we get started, do know you can use the chat. There's also a Q&A section. I'm gonna go through a lot of demos today, but feel free to post questions in the chat as you go along.
Okay, so maybe I can start, and then it's up to you. So I will just take 2 or 3 minutes. Hello everybody. My name is Philippe. I work at Altar, and here with Rui, of course. And this is our second webinar with a very interesting topic that is everything related with AI, specifically for startup founders. And so this is more or less like the continuation from the last one that was 3 weeks ago. And for the ones that weren't here last time, just to share a little bit about what is Altar. So Altar is this product and software house that helps our entrepreneurs to launch their MVPs, but also like startups or even scale-ups in very different product challenges. So this is something that connects with our work every day, that is AI. Of course, many of our projects nowadays are somehow related with AI, and we also use lots of AI tools every day in, I would say, every department. And so because of that, we thought, okay, maybe we should share some of this knowledge that we are using for our work, share also with other founders. And so that's why we brought here Rui, that I can think about any other person to share all this information better than him. And so that's it. Welcome everybody. I see lots of people from many different countries, so this is great. And I will repeat once again what Rui already shared. Please chat or do questions on the chat. In fact, we have a Q&A section only for questions. Please ask your questions there, and we will answer some of those questions at the end. So this should take around 1 hour, and then we're gonna make more or less 30 minutes for Q&A. So that's it, and now it's up to you, Rui.
Awesome. Without further ado, let's dive in. Let me change here something in the settings. So I'm super excited to be here on this second webinar. Thank you for taking the time to spend this hour, I think 1 hour 15 with me. I'm gonna try to deliver the most value that I can in this next hour, sharing a lot of demos of things I have learned over my course of AI, and hopefully you'll get a lot of value and inspiration to build things yourself. I like to start these webinars, and I did that in the last webinar, with this image, which is the image of a monkey looking at new tools and figuring out, what can I use this for? How can this improve my life? And it serves as a reminder for me that, with the advancement of technology, that soon I'll be obsolete and that, I'm just a monkey figuring out things as I go. And it puts me in the place of a practitioner, learning every day and having this curious mind and having curiosity lead the way. A little bit about myself, if you haven't been here in the last webinar. Very briefly, I spent the last 7 years looking at machine learning and later at generative AI and how it can be used for business, how it can be embedded in products. I launched a couple startups whose products were applications of AI. And I've worked across different industries, different roles, different company sizes, really looking at how can we understand the possibilities around AI and how we can leverage them. I come from robotics background, hence the little robot here. And then I found AI and I found more the software side, which I'm pretty passionate about. And hopefully today I can share with you why I'm passionate about it and give you some inspiration of what's possible with AI. And so this is me today sharing with the tools on the background, sharing multiple tools, things I've come across and that I found useful, and hopefully that you will find useful as well. In the last webinar, I touched on these two lead providers of AI technology, of large language models and toolkits around large language models, which are, as you may know, OpenAI and Anthropic. And their lead solutions, OpenAI's ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude. And I started with prompting. So if you haven't attended that webinar and you're curious to know a little bit more about prompting, you can go to that one. There's a recording. Do go and check it out. There's going to be, I saw in the chat a question from Ilham. If this is recorded, yes, you'll also have the recording of this one. I touched on prompting, and in essence, I showed you how to manually make use of the latest AI platforms. I showed you things like custom GPTs and knowledge and the latest features of OpenAI and memory and custom instructions for ChatGPT. And I also shared on the Claude side, I shared projects and artifacts. This is very cool technology. So if you didn't see it, do take the time. Probably you can speed it up, and in 40 minutes, you get a pretty good amount of value. And the promise for today is that you'll go from these manual processes of this monkey who was with the pen, writing, to learning how to take it a step further into something that is automation set up, that you set up once, that they run for you, they help you do your work, and that you can enjoy life in a more meaningful way without having to do boring tasks. And so the promise is that you will step into taking more advantage of AI. And this is my automation monkey, who is a very, very advanced monkey. And to do that, I'm going to share one key tool, who's been a tool that maybe some of you know, maybe some of you have played with quite a bit, which is make.com. And it's an amazing integrations tool. Before Make, it was called Integromat, and it was one of many integration tools out there. You may have heard of Zapier, but Make, in my opinion, has simplified a lot the process. It's very cheap to run, and it integrates with a ton of solutions, making it just an incredible platform to bring value. Here's just a quick image of things that you can connect to Make. And I'm going to move my face there. You can connect pretty much anything that your business uses to run your day-to-day operations. If you're more on the infrastructure side, things like AWS S3 buckets, where you have, infinite storage. Or on the more personal side, you could have like Telegram bots or your Gmail, your LinkedIn. If you're doing B2B sales, you could have your CRM connected to Make with HubSpot, or your product or project management tools with Jira. I see ClickUp here. So really a lot of, and I see that I put twice HubSpot. So if you use HubSpot, you know that there's a solution there. So Make is really, really amazing. So I'm going to showcase Make today. And we're going to dive into demos right away. There was a bit of introduction in the first webinar, a little bit more theoretical. And today I'm going to aim at being very practical and show a lot of demos. And hopefully I'll do it in a paced enough way that it will be comprehensive and useful. Before we start, I will just drink a little bit of water and then dive in. Okay. So what am I going to demo? Today, I'm going to aim at demoing or showcasing or explaining these 6 topics. And if I manage to give you an understanding of these 6 topics and that you can practically apply them today, then I will be happy. I will feel that my mission has been accomplished. The first 2 are going to be the Chat Completions API and JSON Response. Chat Completions API is a first way of interacting with ChatGPT. In this case, I'm using ChatGPT as an example. There are many chat APIs. We could think of Claude. We can think of Google Gemini. In this case, I'm choosing one solution, which is very good, and explaining how it works. And you can think of other solutions as being similar in application, and particularly with Make, it is very possible to kind of like building blocks, like Lego blocks, exchange these tools. When it comes to the Chat Completions API, I will also show you how you can get not only a text response, but also a JSON response, which I'll explain. So without further ado, let's get our hands dirty. So if I start a new chat with ChatGPT and tell it I have a serious webinar to run today and did not sleep well. I kind of slept well, but let's say I didn't. How can I improve my sleep? Simple conversation with ChatGPT. We see that memory got updated that I had a webinar. Anyways, it's giving me a pretty standard response of things I could do to improve my sleep. And I'm going to use this later as a use case. So you see, pretty standard response, but I don't know if it's, I don't know, scientific references. Do I trust it? Are there better things? Is there supplement wisely? Could I go deeper into this topic? And you can ask, consider sleep tracking. So what are good sleep trackers? The reason why I'm showing you this, so now it's using search. The reason why I'm showing you this is to explain a concept. And it's interesting to see that now, and this is changing so fast that now I asked something commercial, good sleep trackers, And because of search, it's showing me commercial options. It's showing me, websites probably with links to buy. I saw that Perplexity launched their shopping as well last week. So very fast paced. But what I wanted to show you is that I have a conversation, and in this conversation, I have a back and forth, and this is called a thread. So when I'm going to be using the API instead of the chat interface, I can pass to the API thread as well, meaning kind of a back and forth conversation. I'm going to open make.com and my account, and I'm going to start a new scenario. So this is, if you're new to Make, this is basically the way you interact with make.com. And the cool thing is that you create a scenario, and you click this plus button and something happens, I promise. But not today. Okay. Let me refresh this. I want to pay attention in the chat, see if there's... So no questions so far, but I still have people with me. Hopefully. Murphy's Law. Exactly, Maria. So let's see. I create a scenario. It's loading. Okay, perfect. And the amazing thing about Make is that it has thousands of integrations built in. I'm just scrolling, and probably you recognize, WhatsApp Business, Trello, Stripe, Discord. It's amazing. Salesforce. So all the tools that I might wanna use, Instagram for social media, for connect to my backend database with PostgreSQL. It's Google Calendar, Microsoft Calendar. It's really infinite, the permutations, combinations of things that I can do with Make. And the cool thing is that it, of course, has AI, and it has OpenAI modules there. And I can use something which is the chat completions API, which in this case I use by clicking on create a completion. I have previously connected here with my API key, so Make knows how to use my account of OpenAI. And then all I need to do is choose a model, and I can choose the, for example, the latest 4.0 model. And then I can start chatting. So you see here, there's a message. I can add a message, and I can start chatting with my ChatGPT. And in the same way, I can write to it, and I'm going to explain in a second what this role means. I can say, how can I improve my sleep? And that's all I need to then run it. I can click run once. It's connected to my account of ChatGPT, and it runs. And once it's run, it gives me the answer here in the result. Improving sleep often makes certain lifestyle changes. It means lifestyle changes, sleep schedule, relaxing bedtime routine. So I get a pretty nice response. Now, if I want to make this response more adequate, or more, maybe I just want, here it gave me 10 points. In the past, it gave me 5 points. Maybe I just want three key points, let's say. If that's what I want, I can give it examples. And I can use what's called a fake thread technique to do that. And I do that by using this role. I can start with a system message, which, let's say if I paste, this was an answer, so that's not what I want. The system message can be just the start of a conversation. I can establish the role there, for example. You are an expert in neuroscience. And then I can use the user role to ask a question. And then I can use the assistant role to fake a response. And the question was, how can I improve my sleep? How can I improve? And so here I can tweak basically what I expect the answer to be based on a question that I asked. And then I can ask again a question from the user, and now I can give a second question. So I know how I can. Philippa, you're asking me if I'm using OpenAI Plus. This is independent from OpenAI Plus because I'm using it via API. So what I need to do is, and I don't want to confuse everyone right away, but there is a second way of accessing OpenAI, which is through the platform.openai.com, which I'll paste here in the thread. So the question you can ask, how can I access OpenAI API? Maybe that's a good question. And now if I run this module, it wasn't a good question because I said it was a neuroscience person. So I don't know if he knows much about the OpenAI. But here also you see it still gave me many points. So I need to iterate on the prompt, and it's still not good enough that I want only 3 points. But I can reinforce that in something like you're an expert in neuroscience. Give me 3 points only in every response. How can I improve my sleep? And then I'm going to ask here, how can I improve my focus? Okay, I don't want to take too long here, but the point is, and here I got a response which was only 3 points, right? So that was something that I can use now. And so we went from using directly the ChatGPT platform to using now something external via make.com. And this external thing accessed our API account. And with our API account, then we can engage. And going now to platform.openai, what this looks like is we have our dashboard, and in our dashboard we have API keys, and I will delete the last one I created just for test. And the way to connect Make to ChatGPT is by creating an API key, give it a name, and you create it, and then you just copy paste this key into make.com and you make the connection. Delete it again. And And in essence, if we go here to usage, we see that this is a different way of using ChatGPT. We don't need the plus to access the latest models like GPT-4o or something like that, because we use incrementally. Every little call that we make to the model, we pay cents. And so we can see here the monthly spend. This month I spent 23 cents using the API. I don't have many like systems that are making calls all the time. That could add up, but it's pretty cheap, and you can just add some dollars to your account, and then it lasts really a long time. Okay, so this was a very simple first step, but we still don't understand the value of make. And to give you the value of make, I want to show you something very simple. So let's say we want to now integrate ChatGPT with with a spreadsheet, and we want to use the same three bullet point strategy of output, but we now want to have a different module to start. So I might need to start a new one. Let me duplicate this. So if I create a new scenario, now I can go to my Google Sheets, select a Google Sheets module to watch for new rows. And now I'm connecting to my Google account where I've created a demo spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet has a prompt response table. Very simple. I want to write prompts here, and I want to get the response here. This is a very simple use case. And so what I need to do is watch for new rows on my spreadsheet, connect my spreadsheet to Make, which here I've connected my account, and then I just go to Google Drive, find the folder, and then I find the file, and I find the name of the spreadsheet, which is in this case just prompt response. And I give it a limit just because I might have, if I have a spreadsheet which has hundreds of inputs, I don't want it to call 100 times ChatGPT. Let's give it a limit of 2 for now. And we see that we want to start at the beginning. So we choose all here in the where to start. And then I can, because I've done this previously slowly, I'm going to do it a little bit faster, where I create the same chat completions API module with a connection to GPT-4o model. And then I add 4 messages. I add a system message, and then I add a user message. The assistant, which is my fake response from OpenAI, and then the user. And I go back to the previous one, and I say you're an expert in neuroscience. I'm doing this one just a little bit faster so we save time, but is exactly what we did before. Now, with the difference that instead of asking here directly, how can I improve my focus, what I want actually is to map to a variable from the Google Sheets. I want the prompt to come from the Google Sheets. So in this prompt, I will get from my Google Sheets prompt table. And I'm going to save this. And then I want to, so if I run this, and let's see. So he's an expert in neuroscience. Is coffee good for me? Is a question. And if I run this once, it's going to find the prompt in my Google Sheet, which it did. It said it got this prompt, is coffee good for me? And then it gave me an answer. And it gave me an answer with these three things. So it gave me in the same format as I wanted before. So potential health, 3 points, health benefits, cognitive, physical performance, potential drawbacks and considerations. But now I want to write back the response here. So the way I can do it is to use a Google Sheets module to update a row, connect the spreadsheet to the one that I have created before, which has the date of today. And now I need to give it a row number that needs to be updated. And I'm just going to get the same row number as the first module. So if I'm talking about the third line of my Google Sheets, then I want to update that third line. So I just map this variable here. And then I keep the prompt the same as I got from the spreadsheet, but now the response, I get the response from my OpenAI module, from the chat completions API. I save this, and now if I save and run, and let's say I add a new question, or the same, is matcha good for me? And it's going to go and run, and now it ran and it gave me a response, and it filled out here. The reason why it didn't fill out the first one is because it had already run that line, so it just jumped straight away to this line. If I go back and I click here to choose where to start and say that I want to do it for all the rows, and I save that and run, it's gonna actually rewrite the matcha one, and it's gonna run write also the coffee one. And I see that I'm a little bit in front. So that was a first demo, very simple, just using Make to access ChatGPT and Google Sheets. So we just did this, which is very simple first step. So water break, and let me check if we have questions that are worth answering now. So Ilham, is it better to create an API key per tool? I think it's a matter of safety. I mean, if you're using tools that you don't feel are safe, but I think one good practice is to change API keys every 60 to 90 days, just because after 3 months, you don't know where you used it if you're using multiple tools. And This example is like and a question from João. This example is like a brainstorming between user system and another assistant. If so, this is the benefit for now of using OpenAI Make. So, João, what I did was create a thread like this. So here in the chat interface of OpenAI, they don't say system message. It's kind of hidden. Some things that are in the system message I showed before, like in the settings, there is personalization and there's custom instructions, right? So when you're starting a chat, it doesn't start from scratch. Actually, there's some information that is hidden that could be before the conversation starts. And so that could be the system message. It could be like the role. It could be something that's relevant for the conversation. And then this could be a user. This is what is a user message. So it's a message that you type, and this is assistant message. So it's kind of the answer. And this is again a user message and then an assistant message. So here, what you're creating is a fake thread as a way to do what I explained in the last webinar, is a few shot prompting. So you provide examples of the output that you like, and so you in that way tune the output. I hope that answers your question. I'm going to go back to demos because we have a lot to cover, and then we'll get back to questions in a bit. I hope, how's everybody feeling? Please put in the chat so I know that people aren't falling asleep, and this is being exciting. I hope so. I hope that we're getting some excitement and value out of this. So I've shared with you the chat completions API, and now I'm going to share the JSON response. So what is it? A JSON response can be when I want to get multiple pieces of value from a prompt. I'll give you an example here. So let's say we want, in this next spreadsheet, we don't want just a prompt and a response, but we want that we prompt once, and then we want to have different types of responses. Let's say we're creating a social media campaign, and we want to pass it to write a prompt or write a topic we want to talk about, and then we want to get a scientific response, a poetic response, a tweet, a Instagram post, a LinkedIn post, and we want to get all of these information in one go. And so that's what we're gonna aim here. And I'm gonna show you a simple trick, which is I can make a screenshot, and you don't really see my screenshot as I'm sharing, but you're gonna trust me that I did a screenshot of that, and I'm gonna paste this image of just the headers that I have here, and I'm gonna paste that to ChatGPT and say, when I prompt you, I want you to give me a JSON response with the parameters in the image. And as you can see here, the image, it was just the headers that I had on my spreadsheet, and I asked for a prompt for a JSON response. If you're not a software developer and you don't know what JSON is, very simply, it's the communication language between applications. So it sits whenever you go to an application, you have the front end, the user interface, and the information that is shown comes from what's called the backend, the databases, all of this, and it comes via API. And And JSON is the communication language of APIs, let's say. And it looks like this. So now I'm going to give a prompt, and I expect the model to give me a JSON response with these parameters. So my prompt will be, what is the best strategy to improve at delivering webinars? And now, instead of writing an answer, I get a JSON response. And this JSON response is, as you can see, it has these curly brackets, and then it has some parameters. I get the prompt back, and then I get scientific response, poetic response, all of this. And so I can use the exact same strategy now to create another scenario. And I've done this in the past, so I'm just going to show you what I did so we can save some time. And basically in this scenario, I just connected to this spreadsheet, and then I created the same chat completion that I showed you before how to do. And here I said, for the system, please share your respond. Let's say respond in JSON format with all the parameters, prompt, and then I give it an input and an example output, which I just copy pasted from something like this. And then I pass it, as I did before, the prompt. And there's a couple more things, which is I need to set the response format to JSON object, and I asked to parse the JSON. And then when I update the row, instead of updating just the prompt and response, I actually have I have these little parts of my response that I can map. And that is because when I run this, and I will do this, how to deliver a demo live. And if I run this and I tell it to run every cell, because I've given it an example, I've asked it to give me a JSON. I can go here to this little number and see the result. And the result actually, it doesn't look like with these curly brackets and like a JSON, but actually it is the different variables. So it gives me the prompt, the specific, the scientific response, the poetic response. So the question was how to deliver a demo live, and I got a poetic response. Present with pose, present your pose, your story tell. Practice till each word can dwell. Prepare and test each vital part, let confidence and charm impart. So pretty good poetic response. And I got the LinkedIn and Instagram post and tweet, everything that I asked for. And now, because I have those variables with JSON, I can map to each of those variables in my Google Sheet. And when I run it, I see that it populated not only as before one answer to one prompt, but now with one prompt, I got to populate a lot of different tables. Do you see any use case for this? Is this useful to you? Yeah, just let me know. I hope that you find some use and applications to this. So we've covered chat completions API and JSON response, and we're at 45 minutes in. So let's go back to water break. I hope I still have people engaged, that this was useful. I like making these breaks as a way to check in, to make sure that I breathe as I do this, and to make sure that we are on the same page. By the way, I should have said early on, but it's likely that you can't follow along with everything that I do. That's by design, so that I can deliver more value in the limited amount of time. But you'll get access to the recording, so feel free to watch it slower and replicate. And yeah, and hopefully this will be a fun exercise afterwards. And I want to show you one last idea before we jump to the next thing. So one use case that I have for myself is email, right? Like, get inundated by email.
Hui, are you there? Yeah,
Hello, can you hear me? Oh, I lost sound. I don't know where Okay. Can you hear me? Can people hear me? Yes. Okay. I hope we didn't lose much, and now there's an infinite. Let me stop this. Okay. I was about to explain the email. Okay. And you can see my screen now. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Philippe, for letting me know. I think it's because I have to, yeah, I clicked the wrong tab, but I'm back live. Perfect. So Gmail. No, yes, no. So Cosmina. No screen. I'm sharing my screen again, just so people can see it. Let's see. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Okay, people can hear me, but no screen. I'm trying to screen share. Let me do that again. Share. I was flying to the next demo, and there's a loading here on my side, and I can't seem to be able to share screen. Let me try and get in again. Sorry about this. Okay, sound is on. I'm back, and I'm trying to share my screen. Let's see. Yeah, screen share. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. We're back. Wonderful. So I was sharing about my excitement with not having to answer email, which I believe you must share this excitement. Imagine having an assistant all the time that has your back and that can protect your email. And so very quickly, I was showing you a setup where I have a Gmail module that's connected to my company email account, and it's watching for inbox and for unread emails, and I can have a limit of results, and then I can use the same chat completions API with the same strategy that we did before with JSON and the same fake thread technique, where in essence I pass the data of the email, like a message and the subject, and I get it added to a spreadsheet. And basically the first result looks like this, which is I get the sender of the email, the subject, and the email here. But of course, I can then expand this to ask ChatGPT for a summary of the email, to draft a response, and then leave this on where it's just creating this responses. This is pretty easy to set up. Just 4 modules. I could then add more modules of the draft email and so on. I didn't expand too much on this one because I want to show you more things today, but I just wanted to show you that that's possible and fairly easy to set up. So looking at the time, I probably have 20 more minutes of demos, and then we can tackle some questions. There isn't many questions untackled, so I think we're in good territory. Okay, so we've covered JSON response. I hope it's very clear that the value of not only asking for a text output of ChatGPT, but also asking for a JSON response, which is more advanced. We can ask for multiple parameters, multiple responses within a prompt, and then we can map those and we can do pretty fun things. Now, next, I want to show you Assistant API and vector stores. And these are kind of technical terms. Don't get scared by vector store. This is kind of the technical terms as the lawyer who doesn't want you to know the technical terms. So he speaks in very complicated language, and the same with technical people. But it's really, a vector store is a folder that has things that are where the files are codified in a way that AI understands, for example. So it's some of these things are simple. We just need to get accustomed to them, and then we can also use the complicated language. For the Assistant API, I'm going to go back to custom GPTs. And I have a fun custom GPT today, at least fun for me. So I started the presentation today by demoing, just talking to ChatGPT and asking for sleep quality hacks, or how can I best improve my sleep. And one of the lead neuroscientists that I follow, that I really enjoy, is Andrew Huberman. You may be familiar with him. He has 200 plus podcasts, very extensive, like 3-hour long podcasts talking about neuroscience and the science of sleep and coffee and all these meditation, all these interesting things. And I love his research. I love his podcasts, but I don't have the time to go through 3 hours of a podcast just to understand, if I should drink coffee or not. And then the same for sleep. And then it's a lot of information to digest. And so what I did is I created a custom GPT, and I explained in the last webinar that is a way to tune the response. And I will show you how I created it. I, in essence, just said, you are Andrew Huberman, Stanford professor. Your role is to help people understand in simple terms complicated science. You have the knowledge of the Huberman podcasts. Use it and only provide information from the knowledge base. If you cannot answer any questions, just say I don't have enough information. And the key thing here is that I'm passing it these documents, and I will show you what these documents have. And they're, in essence, transcripts from his podcasts. And so he has a long podcast on meditation and the science around meditation. This is 85 pages long, because it was a 2-hour, 25-minute podcast. But it is very simple to extract this from the internet. I can go to a podcast. I have here motivation and drive. I see, okay, improving your baseline dopamine for motivation and drive. This is 8 minutes, so it's not a full podcast. But I will go to his podcast and choose something that interests me. How relationships shape your brain. That's interesting. So I'm going to click on this, how relationships shape your brain. And it's 2 hour long. It would take me an age to understand and read through this. But what I can do is come to the YouTube video and click more on the description. And if I scroll down, I have a button which says show transcript, which loads the transcript of my YouTube video. And now I can simply, in a very low-tech fashion, I can simply go through the transcript and copy-paste it, not the comments or anything like this, but just get to the end of the transcript, copy, and then I can go to Google and I can create a Google Doc, paste it here. It takes a second or two because it's long, and I need to copy also the title. It should appear in a second. It's kind of saving. Yeah, we got it. So here it's 63 pages worth of we can make this the title, and I can come here, save as a PDF, and then I can give it to my custom GPT. And now my custom GPT will know about how relationships, oh, I didn't give it a name. Let me change that. So give it a name, PDF. And I can now upload a file on how relationships shape the brain. Maybe the file was still being downloaded, so it wasn't ready. Ensure your network settings. Show us some network. Let me redo that. Okay, it's loading. And now my custom GPT has been updated, and now it knows about these 2 hours worth of content on how relationships shape the brain. So shape the brain. And I've showed you in the past that you can use this here in the ChatGPT platform. And here, it's fetching probably from that podcast, and it's sharing here four pieces of information: emotional processing, attachment styles, so all these things. But this is still not very much a product that is, let's say, packaged, and there's limitations with custom GPTs because I can only add about 20 files. Maximum is 20 documents that I can add for knowledge. And so I want to be able to use it as an API. Let's say I want to, as a founder, I'm building a product and I want to have a chat interface, and I want to embed it into my product. Or let's say I want to have a customer service agent that I'm working on that has access to all the files of information that is relevant from my company, or a sales agent that has information that is relevant for my company. All these use cases are interesting use cases where maybe inviting people to come to the chat interface of OpenAI is not the best way forward, and I want to embed it. And so the way to do that is not the chat completions API, but there's another API, which is what's called the Assistant API. And the Assistant API, I'll do this from scratch. So the Assistant API, you access it via the platform as well, as I shared before. And you can come here and click Assistants. I'll make this bigger. And you can create a new assistant. And in a way, you're doing the exact same thing as creating a custom GPT, but now you're doing it via API. That's one example for where you don't need to have the ChatGPT Plus account, for example, but you can use it via API on demand. So that means if you use just 10 cents, you use 10 cents, and that's fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the exact same parameters that I had here, the same instructions. And in the same way as a custom GPT, I just have system instructions now. And I can call this Uberman Assistant or Uberman Agent. And what I need to enable here, and I want to make this simpler, is just the name. I just need to give it a name, the system instructions, the model, and here there's not much to add. I could add functions, which is the similar to actions in custom GPTs. And what I want to pass to this assistant is that I want to have the assistant give the assistant the capacity to go through the files of that of those podcasts. And so I need to enable file search here. And when I do that, I can add files. And I could add files directly to this assistant, or I could add files to what is called a vector store. And to do that, I will click on storage. There's files, and I will come to vector stores, and I'll recreate this one. And I'll come to vector stores and create a new vector store. And you can think of a vector store as it's a folder where you dump. It's a storage unit. It's a folder that you dump files in. And when those files are in, then AI goes and kind of codifies that into AI language so that it understands the files. The way to do it is simply create a file storage, and then you can come here and add files. And when you add files, you just upload or drag and drop. And I'm going to do that for my last documents. So I have here a couple documents from the Huberman lab that I did before, and I attach them. And now coming back to my assistants, I can connect my vector store to the files, to the agent that I just created by clicking here, select a vector store. But I need to pass it a vector store ID, which is sound a bit technical, but we just need to come here to the vector store, copy an ID, and then go back to the assistant and add files, select a vector store, put the ID there. And it was a bad name to call it vector store. It should be called Huberman vector store, right? For differentiation, because all of them are vector stores. But that's okay. I've selected it, and now my assistant, my agent, has access to these files inside the vector store. If tomorrow I go through every podcast, I download the 286 podcast transcripts, and I have these 280 files, 60-page long podcast. This is books worth of knowledge of neuroscience. And I just add them to this vector store, then the agent has access to all of that information. And so now it's time to test it. So I can click here on the playground, and in the playground, it's going to be still in this platform of OpenAI, and I can test it. Let's see which files did I add. I added a couple files: how to increase motivation and how relationships shape your brain. So I'm going to ask about motivation. I'm feeling very motivated today, but not all the time. How can I make it more consistent? And so I can here interact with the agent. And you see that if I ask the exact same thing to a normal ChatGPT without this knowledge, he probably wouldn't start with a dopamine system engagement, and maybe it would, but I know at least that this is coming from a source that I trust, and it's shaping the response in a way that I like. And And finally, coming back in full circle to make, next time I want to create this prompt and response, I can do it with the assistant that I already created before. So in a way, it's like calling a custom GPT, and it's very simple to do that. I just come and I can find it. So I'll just redo it. Very simple. I come to my make, Google Sheets, watch new rows. Every time we do this, it's good refresher for the memory. So I come here, I watch for new rows on my spreadsheet. I have my demo spreadsheet, and I'm gonna look for a Uberman sheet. Okay, start with all. And now with the OpenAI module, we've been using so far this chat completion API, but in this case, I'm gonna use the message and assistant API. And so this one is gonna allow me to select an assistant, and when I drop down, it already identified that I have created an assistant called Uberman, and that was the name that I gave to my assistant here. No, it is actually Uberman agent. So that's from a different. It was from the last time I did it in a different project where I called it Uberman. I did it just before, where I had more files. So let's go to the one we just created. So it's because I have multiple connections, multiple projects on ChatGPT. So when I refresh my connection and click this refresh button, it's going to find the Uberman agent that we just created. And with that Uberman agent, then we can prompt it, and we can simply say a user message, and we can message. And what we want to do is that we want to, like we did before, map to the prompt that we write on the spreadsheet. And then in this case, that's all we need to do. We can make this file search for tool choice. That should be enough. And then we're gonna update the row, same thing we did before. Is this exciting? Is this useful? Okay, Rita says it's super interesting, so I'm happy that you're getting value out of this. So it's never been so easy to create integrations. You'd need like a few years back, you'd need a lot of understanding to make these type of things, even without the of course the OpenAI, but just to connect some of these tools, you would need to be looking at the APIs and how they worked and connecting those dots, and now it feels like super intuitive, which is amazing. And finally, when it comes to the response, mapping the response of ChatGPT. So are we ready to run this? It's the final thing we're gonna run, and I need to give it a prompt. So what should I ask? I'm at the end of a webinar, of a 2-hour-long webinar, 2-hour webinar, and feeling kind of nervous. How can I relax? And And then we can ask this and see what Uberman has for us. Let's see if it works. I was testing this just before, 15 minutes before the webinar, and then I got an error, and I was like, no, the gods of, and then I got the error again. Okay, I have to pray a little bit more. So I think this error comes from the file sizes, but I can't quite, pinpoint. Let's see if I can make it work. Uberman agent, thread, file, model, file search. So there's something about the limitations of the thread and how knowledge works, because if I couldn't pass 200 pages worth of documents to a thread, because that's too much for the thread. It passes some limits, but it should be able to work if it's in the vector store, because it finds only the relevant information before it goes and gives me the answer. So looking for text, and let me ask this again. So it knew I'm nervous, and so it failed. Okay, so you're gonna have to trust me that this is the way. Okay, it worked. Amazing. And then it also is repeating, because it found, this is so interesting. You see, same prompt, and the first time it worked and it ran, and then in the second time it gave it had an error. So this, I need to dig deeper into this, but it says that it passes the token limit of 30,000 for my organization. I don't know if that means I need to top up things. I seem to have enough credits, but the gods of the demos are partially in my favor, because they showed that it kind of works, but there are still some bugs in the setting up. So one thing I wanted to show you finally is that you can do this exact same thing. So what we showed before of prompt to response, prompt to JSON response, multiple responses. There's possibility for email, and then with the Uberman we can do it not only to ChatGPT that we get a response, but also to any custom GPT that we created. And Cosmina says I should change my model, so that's probably a good idea. And I won't, because we're running a little bit out of time, I won't debug it now, but I just wanted to share the concepts of the assistant API and how you can use it, and then also the vector stores, and we talked about JSON response, and we talked about chat completions API. And I see there are some questions, and we're running out of time, and it's always good to have a water break. But what I still wanted to cover very briefly today was Vision API and fine-tuning. This I will only speak of, I won't demo, but the concepts are that with Vision API you can do, we've done a lot with text today, but you could have the same way that you interact with ChatGPT on the platform, where you upload a photo and ask, what is this? Is it a cat or dog? Where I upload a photo of my spreadsheet and say, for these fields of the spreadsheet, give me an answer. I can also use images in the API, which can be useful for some use cases. And then finally, fine-tuning. I spoke about lightweight models, and that we don't always need the more advanced, the most powerful model, because sometimes it's slower and it's more expensive to run. And so sometimes we want these 4.0 mini or the mini models. Or in the case of Claude, I think that it's the Haiku that is the cheaper and faster model. But there is a way when you're doing this at scale, which is to fine tune your model so that it's cheaper and faster, and it's very tailored to your response. And the way you do this is by providing 50 plus examples of input and output. And so let's say you're training a customer service bot and you give it 50 questions that you got from a client and 50 answers from your customer service team. And now you have and you provide that, and you fine tune a model to that understands your business, understands how your customer service team responds to answers. I had here a few more things, but we won't have time. But the idea is that you can do also a lot with Google Drive. So you can have a folder on Google Drive with a bunch of CVs. You can interchangeably use ChatGPT or Claude, your preferred model. You can integrate, you can think of what are the use cases, and I would love to hear more. Do reach out to me with use cases, ideas on how this can be done. We saw today grabbing something from YouTube and feeding it to ChatGPT, and it could be possible to then, populate a spreadsheet of knowledge of Huberman. Let's say we start with a topic, and then we want to scrape all these podcasts, and I want to create content around the best knowledge of neuroscience for for coffee or supplements or something like that. It's very much possible. And so that was me sharing tools. I am very aware of time. I hope this has been useful. I could speak for hours about this. As I'm trying to prepare, there's a big exercise of cutting use cases, because it's infinite, the possibilities of what is out there, and so I would love to hear from your side what you'd like us to cover. And Maria, I see your message to cover what I didn't have time today in your next webinar. Yes, so this is a great point. So in the first webinar, we did it 3 weeks ago, and the idea is that we're going to have this cadence of 3 weeks and do a webinar every 3 weeks. And I'm not going to be able to cover everything, all the topics in one. It's a lot of ground to cover, but slowly we'll get into interesting space where we're learning at this lower pace. This was the landing page for this webinar. And I just want to acknowledge that there were some things I didn't have the capacity to touch. Flow-wise, AI agent teams, which was in the landing page, and I thought to bring, but it was way too much for the time. And also RAG, I want to say it's what we saw of vector stores, and then an assistant that connects to that, and it's short for retrieval augmented generation, which is just this idea of getting knowledge as a base for a smarter or more fine-tuned model. In terms of automations with Make, I see that there were some things I wrote initially that would potentially connect with Notion and Airtable and GitHub. These are things that I've done. And there are integrations that are there. Today I didn't have the time to show that, but do go try, play with the tools. And if you have questions, I'm here. And I would love to hear about your use cases and how I can support. And in 3 weeks, on the 18th of December, we'll do the next webinar. I'll be doing the next webinar, which I think is going to be on speech AI. That's something I'm still kind of creating. I would love to hear what is interesting on your side, and kind of use that feedback to shape the next webinar. And of course, I'm continuously learning as well, so I would love to hear also feedback about this webinar if you liked it, what I can improve, and yeah, I really appreciate your time and sticking around for all of this. So that's been me, and yeah, we can go to questions. And
yeah, I believe that you have some questions there that you didn't answer yet.
Yeah,
from Cosmina, from Maria as well. I can answer to questions to Rita's question about the recording. So the email should be sent until tomorrow. Yeah, with the link for the recording of this one.
Okay. Yeah. So more questions. I see. Let me go question to question. But first of all, I see thank yous, and I appreciate everybody's time and the support. It's very important. And let's dive into questions. I have them here open, so I'll just take a sip of water and go. Okay. So in the order that I see the questions, the first one from João, which I think I answered already, which was about the user system and assistant. Then I have from Ilham that I already answered as well. And then Maria is asking, could you share with the recording the make scenarios you shared with us today so we can replicate and practice? Of course, yeah, I'm happy to do that. They were fairly simple, I must say. So we just did 3 modules in a row, nothing too complicated. Also because I am aware that some people will be familiar with Make, but some people is the first time that they're seeing it. And so if I go into complicated setups, it might just be too much. And so I just wanted to have a first webinar for around Make and have the people that are seeing the tool for the first time really start slow and understand how it can be useful right away. But I'm happy to share with you, Maria, so that you can replicate it. And then another question is, Maria, you say you didn't understand why I want the chat completion to answer in JSON. Okay. Yes. Yes. So I'll reinforce that. So when we look at here at Make, and I'll open again the automation that I had. And hopefully I have a run here that I can see. Yeah. So when we open the result of the chat completion, we see that the result is not a text result. And I will show you the result of the other scenario, the first one, which was just using Google Sheets and not asking for a chat completion. So here, I need to find one and run. I don't know why this. Okay, but I can show it here in the spreadsheet. If I move us to this side. So in the prompt response, I get a response which is text. But if I want to have multiple variables that I get from ChatGPT at the same time and have them not in a wall of text, for example, here I could want to separate potential benefits, effects, and variability into 3 columns. Let's say that for my application, I want to have 3 columns here, depending on my question. Let's say my question will be only about nutrition and health, and I want the benefits, the risks, and the individual variability, let's say. And what I want to do is that I want to have an automation that I get multiple variables, multiple responses from one prompt. And I don't want to have to get this text here and then copy this and say, oh, this is variability and this is, or, I want it to be smart enough to give me a set of variables. And that's what I explored here in this example, where I say that I want to give a prompt and I want the response to be multiple things. And those things are different. They act differently, but I just want to prompt it once. What's the best strategy to improve delivering webinars? And I want to have, create a tweet and an Instagram post and a LinkedIn post. And I want to have that not all in, I could have that in a cell here, let's say. But for further automations, it's going to be harder to extract the LinkedIn post, because if I then want to grab only the LinkedIn post and send it to LinkedIn and post, then it's going to be in one same text variable in one same box. Whereas if I ask for a JSON, and we can see that in Make, we have not only one response, but we have multiple variables that are being created. So when I see the result of the output of this run, the result has multiple variables, has a variable called prompt, has a variable called scientific response. And these variables are text. And because I have multiple variables, I can pass those variables to the spreadsheet so that then I can do something like this. And then as a next step, let's say I want to grab the Instagram post and I want to actually post it on Instagram. I think I might want to use LinkedIn because I have a connection established here. Create a user text post, and I have my LinkedIn connection here. And now I could grab the content and map to the result of LinkedIn post, and actually make it public. And if I run this, it actually posts this on my LinkedIn, because I have the connection, I have the LinkedIn post, and I can add mentions to people or companies. And now I click OK. And if I run this, and this would be a cool demo, so I'm just going to do it. Let me see. I know we're pretty much out of time, but I'm excited to see where this goes. So, how to deliver a live demo, and I can delete, and say that this was. I just prompted this, how to deliver a demo live about JSON. And now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to restart this. and I'm gonna save it and run. And then I want to go to my LinkedIn and see that it's posted. That would be cool. Let's look at my posts. Posts, where I see posts. Show all posts. So we're going to be, and show all posts, and I see my latest post. Preparing a live demo on JSON can be both exciting and insightful. You see? So now, because I asked for these multiple things, I have them as variables, and with the variables I can do what I want, and that can be posting to LinkedIn, for example. So that was an extension of the question. I think it's answered. We're out of time. Let me just see if there's an urgent question. So reinforce that. And can we use in real life? Kuzmina, how can we use in real life for a customer? If we sell this assistant to a client, how can we use the assistant? So I didn't have the time to go into this, but once you have the API, then it's about having a front-end chat. And once you have that capacity to, you need a front end where people can chat. That there are multiple options for that, and it could be a WordPress website that depends on how you want to establish that. But then you connect that to your assistant, and then the way you monetize or the way you sell, it could be something of your operations that is internal and that is on the back. Doesn't need exactly to be the product, but it could be on your customer service team, that now some of the answers, some of the first responses, for example, can be done with AI. Klarna has a great use case on how they did this. I wrote a post about it. So then it's about how to use this assistant. There are multiple ways, but the idea is in the same way that you would use a ChatGPT API embedded into your product. It's via an API. So I can dive more into that if you want to chat further. And I think that was all the questions. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming and for your support. And do let us know how we can improve and what you'd like to see in this webinar moving forward. And thank you, Philippe, for hosting.
Yeah, thank you again. And also remind again that the next webinar is in 3 weeks. We're going to send a follow-up emails with all the information. And also, if you have topics that you'd like to have Rui talk about in that webinar, just email us or message him. I'm pretty sure that he's going to be happy to talk about them. And yeah, that's it. And thank you again, Rui, for this. I know that it's lots of content, but it's lots of valuable content at the same time. So yeah, let's keep doing this.
Yes, I'm very excited, and thank you for having the patience to go over these 1 hour and 40 minutes together. And I'm very honored to be sharing this, and I hope we get to continue to do this for a long time.
Yep.
So thank you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.